Happy March.
Yes, March, love spring.
Yeah,
Things
it's
are
still a little chilly.
buzzing. Yeah,
Buzzing,
yeah,
but a little bit chilly.
yeah, you got that right. And rainy. I don't know about where you're at, but I'm just in the foothills up here, El Dorado Hills, Shingle Springs area around Folsom, and it's been cold and windy. So, beekeeping tip, I got to get in my apiary and just go to the back and lift up with a couple of fingers to see if there's enough feed on, because now is the time of year that we really have to be careful regarding whether or not our bees are, number one, getting out to forage, as the weather's been kind of inclement, what's blooming, what nectar's flowing, is there any pollen out there? Um, and let's hope they don't starve before the warmer weather comes. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I really hope so.
yeah,
That they don't.
yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. So announcements quarter. We this previous month in March, we actually launched the Bee Vet course with WIFS, which is the Western Institute for Food Safety. And so this Bee Vet course has been years in the making. And even if you're not a vet, is an interesting course to take because it goes through antibiotics and administering antibiotics to bees and best practices in that. And it goes through all the regulations around that too, because there are new regulations in California regarding administering antibiotics. And it's a fully online course. You could take it at your own pace, and we'll link it in the description below. And we'll also go into a short informational video right now about the Bee Vet course in more detail.
Honeybees play a critical role in agriculture all across the United States. At UC Davis, the Western Institute for Food Safety and Security, the School of Veterinary Medicine, and the E. El Nino Bee Laboratory have all worked together along with the Oregon State University Honeybee Laboratory to create online training that is certified by the American Association of Veterinary State Boards. This course will cover honeybee biology, beekeeping techniques and tools, and information regarding the new laws that govern the use of antibiotics in apiculture. Join us online today and sign up now.
Welcome back. So we also have a few reminders for current candidates who are pursuing their honeybee ambassador, apprentice, or journey or master level right now. The first one is regarding using the preparation page. So recently we've gotten some questions about what is the best way to study. You've gotten some questions about that too, Wendy, right? I think both.
Yeah, I have. So if I were new to the program, right, I just want to make sure there are so many wonderful resources available, right? We have study guides, we have an online course, we have opportunities to consult textbooks. If for those of us who are fortunate to live by a satellite hub, we can even perhaps have an in-person experience. So as somebody new coming to this program, what's the best way to make use of my study time most efficiently? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the answer to that question really varies depending on the person, and that's how the program was actually designed, so that it acknowledges that everybody has different ways that they want to study. So as Wendy mentioned, there's so many different ways to study, but for many people, it could be a lot of different resources without too much guidance necessarily on which one to use to start. Like, how do you mix and match? This textbook, there's finding a mentor, there's so many different ways. What we recommend is going to the preparation page, which is under current candidates, and just looking through that list. It's just a pretty long list. I think it's maybe 12 lines long, maybe a little bit more. And it lays out all the different ways that you can study. And just remember that you don't need to do all of those. You only need to do possibly even one, or maybe multiple. If you want more guidance, we recommend registering for all of the classes. And you can attend those classes for free live. And so you can register for all of them right now. Just go on the website and you click register. you'll get a calendar invite. And those are, live classes where you can ask questions. Another way, if you'd like more guidance, is also to take the online course. It's called the Fundamentals, Beekeeping Fundamentals course. And that was also launched beginning of this program. And that's also just an online course that you can go through at your own pace. And that is also pretty guided. You go through each module, there's quizzes, it's more structured, you can go at your own pace. If you'd like less structure, you could read the textbook. You can also go through the study guide. I think both of us recommend to at least review the study guide, regardless of all the other materials you go through. Make sure to review the study guide before you take the exam, and even more so, take the practice exams before you take the written exam. That's very important. So that's somewhat, think about how much guidance you want, look at the list, and you can always reach out to Wendy and I via office hours or via email to ask if the combination is enough to prepare you. But really, even if you do a couple of those options and you take them fully through, you should be sufficiently prepared. And the practice test is a test you can take for yourself to know if you're prepared or not. Yeah, anything else there, Wendy? I think that's my recommendation, at least.
Yeah, thanks. And I'd also encourage folks to join their local bee club, just to get some, to build a community and to get some face time with other beekeepers and just experience what it's like in your club. And they might even have a copy of the textbook, so you don't have to buy it. Not that, it's recommended. But personally, I like having resources on hand. I like to be able to skim through Simon Terrell's book. I like Dewey Karen's book. And then I love the study guide, because I know that if I know what's in the study guide, I'm going to be able to ace the exam, the online exam, for sure. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And also, we already kind of touched on this, but we recommend to definitely check out the classes. Is one of the study resources, and it doesn't hurt to at least try taking one. Might not be for you, but it's we spent a lot of time preparing those over the years, and the curriculum is partially designed by Alina Nino, the lab directors. So it's a really good resource that even if you don't use it to prepare for the exams, you could learn. There's classes out there that aren't on the exam. Well, the content isn't on the exams, but you might want to learn about it for fun. So
yeah, that's an essential invitation, I think, and really helpful for any member who is currently a candidate for any of the levels to, the apprentice, the journey, or the master, to dive in, register for all the classes. So at least your name's on the list, because you'll get a copy of the recordings and you'll get an overview of what occurred in the classes, even if you can't make it, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, and if you're not a current candidate, we highly recommend to check out the classes too. I mean, they're not free in that case, but they're still very affordable. So
yeah,
definitely check them
yeah,
out.
yeah. Terrific. Thank you.
And also, talking about guidance, there's a few check-ins coming up for certain levels, right, Wendy?
Yes, yeah. If you're a journey level candidate or a master level candidate, watch your email inbox. Some point this week, you'll be receiving an invitation to just come together for a check-in to see where you're at on your journey or your master level journey through the curriculum for this year. Yeah.
A little bit psychometric.
Mm-hmm.
And also pins from last year. So typically current candidates that pass the exam, they receive pins. Is there an update on that for Journey and Master last year?
Yes, it's a matter of pulling together the mailing list. We have the pins for Apprentice and Journey. We have heard from our membership, those at the master level, and we will be ordering pins for all of our master candidates. So they'll not only be patches, but also pins in the future. So please stay tuned for that. Everybody who is currently a master level beekeeper with the camp will be receiving a pin as well.
That's fun. I love it. Those are
Yeah.
they're always a lot of fun. I think I have mine right here. So You can see
Yeah.
what they'll be getting, at least for this level.
Yeah.
Shows.
Yeah. Yeah. There's the
And,
apprentice. Yeah.
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 Great. Now we have a special segment from Elena Nino, and let's go ahead and jump into that.
All right, Kian, what do we have next on the agenda?
Awesome. We have Elena Nino, the director of the EL Nino Bee Lab, and also UC Extension Apiculture Specialist, CAMP's director. And we have the pleasure today to hear from her experience with the almond pollination currently going on in California. And this isn't only useful for commercial beekeepers. It could be an indicator for also how it's going to go for hobbyists. It's just useful to know this information. So welcome, Elena.
Thank you, Ken. Hi, Wendy, and hi, everybody.
Yeah. So why don't we go ahead and kind of get a little bit of a view of how honeybee health in the colonies that are in the orchards are doing. Are they good this year? Are they average? Are they weak?
So I think it's really difficult to talk about the health of the colonies at this point. I can tell you from what I have heard in the past few weeks, at least from the commercial beekeepers, there are definitely higher losses in some beekeepers than expected, and higher losses certainly than in previous years. So it really varies kind of like every year, but I've definitely been hearing more about high losses. And of course, as always, we don't really know why that was happening. Varroa mites could be the culprit, poor foraging, because we had really two pretty dry years the last couple of years. So that could have also impacted going into overwintering. They could have had poor storage, food stores. Any number of things could have impacted that, but I have definitely been hearing about higher losses. Of course, on the East Coast, we had the hurricanes in Florida. I know those beekeepers have lost colonies, and some of them do obviously end up here in almond pollination as well. So overall, from what the feeling that I'm getting from beekeepers, and honestly, even in our own backyard, we have had losses, especially with this cold weather too. We've had losses in the last couple of weeks that we weren't necessarily expecting to see. So higher than normal losses, which is really unfortunate. But we're still we're in almonds. So
yeah. So what I'm hearing is there's at this point, no clear culprit for the higher losses this year so far. It's probably just a combination of factors, you're saying, but we don't know for sure yet.
We don't know for sure. We don't honestly know if we're ever going to really find out, but I do know that there are efforts, right? I mean, it's always sort of a question. We're still kind of questioning what has happened with CCD, probably a perfect storm of unfortunate events and unfortunate stressors that have come together that have caused some of these losses. But I do know that there are efforts underway to at least survey the beekeepers. So Project APSM, for example, has sent out a survey asking beekeepers to report what their losses are. So we have a feel for it a little bit faster than what the Bee Informed Partnership puts out the survey, I think, in April. So hopefully we'll get a clearer picture of what's going on a broader scale through that PAM survey. And we do have efforts from other researchers throughout the country trying to sample some of these bees and see if there's anything they can find. It's really difficult to do that though, because you don't have a baseline. So if you don't have a baseline for what's been going on in some of these colonies, it's difficult to say, oh, we didn't have this, then we got it. Clearly it's still here. That's probably why we lost these colonies. But I think there's really an effort across the country from the researchers to see what might come out, what might jump out at us.
Okay, thank you. And in terms of the supply of bees for the growers this year, is there enough bees to go around for everyone, or no?
Well, so I have been, and this is again, you hear this, you hear that, and that's always how it is. You hear different stories from different folks. I have definitely heard of beekeepers who have helped out their fellow beekeepers to actually fulfill those contracts, right? I've heard from growers that they have been having issues with getting all of the bees that they normally get into their orchards, and they've been kind of scrambling. Some of them, they've been scrambling to get those bees into the orchards all the way up until the bloom, which started about February, mid-February, so a couple of weeks ago. So there's been really a range of information that I have received, but it's definitely been a bit more of a struggle this year, seemingly, than in the past years.
To get those suppliers that are needed. Okay. So as we all know, in early January, there were many storms across California, and in recent weeks, at the end of February, there were really cold temperatures, and there was snow in Southern California and even in the Bay Area in certain regions. Has that affected the almond pollination in terms of how long the bees need to stay there or anything else?
So that, yes, the weather definitely can impact the pollination efforts from the bees, right? We usually say you need a specific amount of bee flight hours to fulfill that pollination and actually make that pollination optimal, so to produce the crop. But that's not all of it, right? That's not the entire picture. So bees are quite important, but there's definitely, bee flight hours are not it. They definitely forage below the temperature of 55 degrees Fahrenheit, which is normally what we put kind of as a cutoff. And then they've definitely been foraging later in the afternoon. Sometimes we see them foraging in higher winds as well, above 10 miles per hour. So bee flight hours are a measure, but I think what a probably better measure is the activity of the hive. So if there's any way to track that activity, that can kind of give you a picture of how many foragers are going out. If you can collect pollen and see what pollen is coming in, right? That also would be an indication of potentially a better indication of what your pollination efficiency of those bees is. But the weather definitely impacts the flight, right? So impacts the flight to what degree? I don't know, because the weather has been all over the place, right? In terms of how long the bees will need to stay out there, that also is not necessarily what is needed, right? You need, what is needed is for the bloom to sync up with good weather for the bees to be able to come out and pollinate those flowers that are in bloom. So if the weather is bad, the bloom opens, bees kind of come out, the bloom is done within a few days, right? And the bees haven't been able to go out. It doesn't matter if they stay out there, if the bloom is over, right? If they don't.
So it's like a small window that matters.
It's a smaller window, and different varieties will bloom at different times as well. So it really, that's why it spans from like mid-February, sometimes all the way until the end of March, that pollination period, right? Because the varieties bloom differently, and then in different areas in California, in the valley, the bloom happens at different times as well. So all of this has to like miraculously line up for it to work out. But I think everybody is citing the 2019 year, which was pretty wet, and we were all worried about it. And apparently we ended up with a higher almond yield than expected. I think it was like a record almond yield. So it really, we don't have the most clear picture now, but it is worrisome. And some of the flowers apparently are getting damaged as well from the freezing temperature. So I think that's what is really impacting the bloom as well, is the freezing cold temperature. So it's not just rain, but the temperature is really low. So I wish I had a better answer for what's going to happen, but it's, keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah, we'll have them crossed.
Exactly. And then, access to food as well could be an issue. If the bees can't go out and get the food, beekeepers need to make sure that they can actually go in and feed them. And if the bees are somewhere where it's not easily accessible, that could be a problem. So all of these things that beekeepers have to think about and deal with when they're doing almond pollination. Not easy being a beekeeper, right?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your experience, your breadth of experience, and going over how you see things are this year, and also sharing how it actually is, instead of saying what it possibly could be. You give the facts, which we all appreciate here at CAMP, science-based facts, and you don't always have the information, right? So it's good to just say when we don't know the answer.
That's right. We often don't know until after the fact, right? So.
And that reminds me, actually, we have some upcoming science-based in-person beekeeping classes at the El Nino Bee Lab. Is that right, Alina?
That is correct.
What classes are those?
So we do have, actually, what's really neat, and I think what the pandemic brought on for everybody, I think, is the fact that we can do classes online, but it is really beneficial, especially for the novice beekeepers, to have some of that hands-on experience as well. So we're doing hybrid classes actually this year. And the classroom here at Bee Biology at Laidlaw facility has been upgraded with new hybrid monitoring system. I don't know, it's too fancy for me, but we have the hybrid system that is set up all ready to go. The first class coming up is planning for your first hives, which is March 25th on a Saturday. Hopefully folks can attend. It will be fun. It's going to be the first class in person after the pandemic. So it's been 3 years now since we stopped having these in-person classes. It would be nice to have people come and interact in person, improve the networking. It will be fun for us to see some folks in person, face to face. So hopefully we can have a good group attend the class, and then we have several classes coming after that, including the queen rearing short course. That is a course that usually sells out. People are super excited about learning how to rear their own queens, and that's always one of my favorite classes as well, because I like doing grafting. Grafting is kind of calming and relaxing. So hopefully we'll have folks who will be attending that class, and I think that is also a hybrid. We will offer some lectures online, and then we will have practical experiences for people in person. So
Yeah, we're all
Terrific.
going to be there. We're all really looking forward to it, right, Wendy?
Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be good to be back with our members in person for sure.
yes, I'm excited. So
Yeah.
hopefully the weather fixes itself, I guess. I know we know that we need water, so hopefully we'll be able to at least slightly get out of the drought, but hopefully the weather will actually turn and we'll be able to rear some queens, which I do know that folks here are pushing back actually queen rearing as well, because it has been pretty cold and not a lot of drones are out there yet. So
That's good to
hopefully keep
know.
your fingers crossed that works out.
Yeah, will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nino.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Let's go ahead and move on. So now it's Events Corner, and this Saturday, tomorrow, actually, we have installing a honeybee package class remotely. And that's from 10 to 12 p.m. And if you are getting started in beekeeping, we highly suggest to take this class. It's one of the first ones in the prerequisite chart. It's in the earlier portion of the chart. And you'll get to learn about how to install your bee package and nukes and what you need to do, the whole process from beginning to end. And even after you install, for the next few weeks, there's a process that you should follow to make sure that everything's going well in the hive. We call that post-installation. And we're going to be going through all that with Jason Swanson. And we hope you can join us. It'll definitely be pretty interesting.
Yeah. And then on March the 25th, for the first time ever in the history of the camp, we're having a hybrid class. Yay! Finally back in person at the lab in UC Davis. Yes. Planning ahead for your first hives. It says March the 4th, but it's actually March the 25th, right?
That's right.
Yeah, okay. So beekeeping equipment, how to start your colonies, installing honeybee packages, maladies of the hives, it covers the gamut. The best starter, the best introduction, the best refresher that any beekeeper can take. And of course, if you're local and you can manage to show up in person, please do. We'd love to see you. You get some hive time with the hives at the lab. And if you live far, you can sign up for remote experience as well. So we look forward to being able to serve you in the way that fits your needs. I hope to see you on the 25th of March.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun to come and check out the lab. I mean, there's still active research going on there. It's a
Yeah.
special place where there's researchers who have made a big difference in beekeeping over the last 30 years,
Yeah.
and even further, I believe. big names in beekeeping that have done work there in artificial insemination, and big papers that's come out. So there's a lot of history there if you're into history as well. You get to see all the antique beekeeping journals and all these old smokers and things like that. So that's fun to check out. And right next to it is the Honeybee Haven, actually. The Honeybee Haven is UC Davis pollinator garden with hives, and it's really beautiful. And I'm not sure if anything's blooming yet. Is anything blooming, you think, there?
Yeah, there's some stuff
Yeah, there's
blooming. I
some
can't, I'm no
perennials.
master gardener, but Dr. Christine Casey makes sure that she knows she needs to feed the bees. So the
There's
way
something
she plants
always.
is pretty
Yeah.
magical. And check out the Honeybee Haven website, which we'll include a link to in the newsletter, because Dr. Christine Casey has some pretty cool courses coming up as well. And as beekeepers, they're important ones for us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, beekeeping tips corner. Are there a few tips we'd like to share, Wendy?
Yeah, just like I mentioned off the top of the video, the critical time to ensure that our bees are fed and they don't starve with the way the weather is in the last couple of weeks. And if if we're looking to purchase nukes or packages, now's the time. We best get on that for sure. So,
In
and
your Mhm.
go ahead.
In your experience, do you feel like suppliers run out of nukes and packages often?
Yeah.
Or oh
Yeah,
wow, okay,
they
so
do. Yeah. So
yeah,
reserve
reserve.
now.
Yeah, reserve now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, as always, we have anonymous feedback form linked in the description of this video. And also, in any part of this video, if you'd like to share your own beekeeping tips, if you have your own events of your own, like beekeeping club is open to large portions of the state, or if you just like to hop on and talk about your master capstone project you're working on, or any project you're working on, doesn't have to be master capstone project, please reach out. We'd love to interview you and share the work you're doing with the camp community. Everyone wants to hear from you.
Yeah.
So yeah, email us, call us. We have the contact page on the website, or whatever is best for you.
Yeah. And shout out to our amazing camp satellites across the state. They're doing some really wonderful work. And just like you said, Keon, we do have a feature in this month's newsletter on someone's capstone. So have a read of that, because this individual is initiating a citizen science experience and experiment, I guess you could say both. So if you're in the Palo Alto area, please have a read of the newsletter, and maybe you could learn a bit more about stingless bees. Who knew in the state of California, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to disclose too much because I'm hoping folks are going to read the newsletter.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love it. And with that, go ahead and subscribe and
Be well.